Welcome back to the Phoenix channel. If this is your first time checking out my podcast format, hit the like button or consider it. Subscribe to my channel. Today's topic is going to be on the ongoing discussions concerning BPs and the roles exchanges have on BPs. We've seen recently, for example, the talk by Yves LaRose discussing sort of the trade-offs with having BPs be a part of the EOS community. EOS is a little bit unique in the sense that EOS runs on what's called delegated proof of stake. So in our system, as you guys know, those actually are in the possession of the tokens, have direct influence on the voting of block producers who run the network. And so there is an inherent, I'd say, advantage that block exchanges have over, say, typical noobs who hold tokens, in a sense that exchanges are aggregators of all tokens of crypto. And so naturally, as an indirect means to provide, say, inter-blockchain communication, or the ability to go from one token to another token between different networks, exchanges are that point, that bottleneck, if you will. And so exchanges are able to sort of, I wouldn't say in a bad way, but exchanges do take advantage of that position they're in being the aggregator of tokens at this marketplace virtually, and often vote themselves in with those tokens. So I'm not arguing whether that's they're bad or good for that. It's just an inherent position they're in based on the system we have. So then we have to ask ourselves, is DPOS, in a sense, something we think realistically works long term? And some people in the Telegram chats have said, DPOS is working as expected. And that's true. DPOS is working as it is engineered to work. But just because something is spec'd out, like from an engineering perspective, just because we build a system and it does what we programmed it to do, doesn't necessarily mean that that system is providing the optimal or desired outcome. And so I think those two sometimes get conflated in the EOS community. Some people just focus so much on the definitions of delegated proof of stake that they lose sight of, ultimately, I think, what an average user or even an average crypto user would expect, how this system would work. And so when you have influential people within the community, I'd say a handful of people, who can essentially decide to reverse transactions or take tokens back when hacks occur, those are signs to me that EOS as a network has not matured in a sense of being ready to gain the trust or interest from large financial applications. Because when you're talking about undertaking large financial applications or running a whole suite or platform on something like EOS, one thing you don't want to have happen is the risk of your tokens arbitrarily being taken or moved or seized. And, based on those practices, I'm not saying that those individuals would do that, because I think we know those particular individuals in that case. In the recent hack, that was where the tokens were seized back and returned to the rightful owners. In the old days of crypto, that would never happen on a legacy platform or legacy network like Bitcoin. That would never happen, because it's just inherently within the network not to reverse or go and seize assets, even if they are stolen. So I know some folks may disagree with me there, but I guess my perspective is, I'm going to build a large application on this network and I'm not well connected, will the operators of that network and these influencers like Yves respect what I'm launching on the network? And I think right now, there's a lot of power there within a smaller group of people. And that's actually a weak point, in my opinion, for EOS. That's just my opinion. I'm entitled to it. You guys don't have to agree. Put your comments below and let me know what you think. Why the system as it stands now is a benefit from your perspective. I'd love to hear that. That's what this is about. But I think if we're being honest with ourselves and having a kind of conversation, I think EOS as a whole, in terms of its consensus mechanism or its mechanism by which block producers are elected, needs to go in a different direction. Uh, the system right now, token weighted votes with these exchanges and others, not just exchanges, wielding their power, isn't something that long term I think is a benefit the network. I'd rather see us go more towards some kind of a proof of work system, but not necessarily proof of work undertaking or buying up computing power to win these hash wars like we see on Bitcoin. But what I'd like to see is more of a proof of work system where you have applications that are vying for verified users of a network within a community. And those each of those community groups or applications compete with one another within an Eden like election. And so there's dynamic voting that would occur within this universal or federation that would make up EOS. And ultimately using the Eden-like process, if you guys remember the Eden-like process, if you go to like say you have 100 different applications, you start with 100 of these representatives or communities that are within this Eden Foundation. Those 100 communities of applications would form groups of 4, randomly selected, and subsequent to that, perhaps there's an election of the 25 groups of 4, by which one representative from each of the 25 groups is elected. And it sort of scales up, maybe a couple iterations from there, to ultimately determine a subset of the 21 block producers. And the reason why that's important is to make sure that we have actual, I would think, influence on the network from actual users and producers on the network, folks actually building tools or applications of some kind. So I'm kind of curious to see if Dan's new concept, his white paper, will incorporate some of that. Think of it more as an Eden-like process to elect block producers. My understanding is that we're going to be hearing more about his concept on the 22nd. So keep your eyes out for that. Let me know. What do you guys think? Do you think something like that would have some influence, having an Eden-like component to elect block producers, looking at proof of work through applications? Put in the comments below. And with that said, this is Phoenix signing off. Peace.